Hello, everyone. So, one of the biggest misunderstandings about employee ownership is that it becomes an individual responsibility conversation, as in, it is the responsibility of the employee to step up and to speak up and to say what needs to change. Or if we look at that from the manager's side, it is the manager's job to ensure that every employee is able to step up and to speak up. But the challenge with this is that it becomes more incomplete because it's not the full scope. It is not something where it is full blame on one party or the other. It is more so of us asking, are we creating an environment from a leadership standpoint? It's are we creating an environment that is nurturing and where people feel comfortable with speaking up? And from an individual contributor point of view, it is are we able to speak up and to share our insights? Is the environment conducive to doing such a thing? Hello, everyone. My name is Lepora Lindsay, and I am so glad that you are joining me on today because we are here to talk about workplace value. How are we able, regardless of where you are in the organizational structure, how are you able to contribute and share efforts in a way that are beneficial and are useful to those that you work with? That is the key today. So, as you're watching, be sure to let me know where you are tuning in from. I always enjoy hearing from you. And if you have questions, be sure to ask those questions. So, today, the topic is everyone matters. But what does that even mean when we're talking about the workplace? Everyone matters, because this is something that we hear often. Well, here's what we're dealing with today. So most organizations, they have people with wonderful ideas, wonderful experience, wonderful observations, but how the company or the organization is set up does not all of the time allow for that individual to share or contribute in a way that is beneficial to those around them. And so when we're talking about everyone matters, but what does that mean at work? We are talking about leverage points that are not always equal. And it's important to state that because one of the big things that I'm always sharing about is that workplace value is an opportunity for each person to step up and to share and to contribute to the workplace. But I don't want to mislead anyone in thinking that that means everyone has the same opportunity or even the same level of influence when it comes to creating impact and creating influence in the workplace because it changes. I want you to take, for instance, a couple of examples. You have your frontline employees that see the customer pain points before executives do. You have your operator that often knows where the processes break down. You have new employees that see opportunities that employees that have been there for a while may not see because they're coming in with a different perspective and they're coming in before being changed with the this is the way things have always been. And then you also have the experienced employees that are walking out of the door with knowledge and experience that is not shared with the company that they are leaving. So we have all of these opportunities where it is valuable. It is something that could be extremely useful in the workplace, but the leverage changes depending on the position of the person, depending on the the role of the person, and depending on the workplace dynamics that come into play. So yes, everyone matters, but what does that mean? And how can we, if you're part of an organization, how, and especially for you as a leader, how can you create an environment and nurture an environment for more voices to be heard, for more voices to contribute in the workplace. Because if we're saying everyone matters, how are we creating an environment where everyone is also able to contribute? And that is the focus for today. So, um, thinking about this, it was probably, it sounds wild to say a decade ago, but I'm going to say a decade ago, probably over a decade ago. I was working at a position, and there was a lot of internal conflict that was happening within the company, within the organization. And I remember my supervisor at the time, we had like an all hands meeting. And my supervisor at the time, she says, well, there's a lot of different challenges and conflicts that are happening at this time. Let's try to figure out how we can come together. And it just gets silent. Y'all, like nobody is saying anything. Like it just, you could hear, the saying, you could hear a pin drop. And I'm like, we complain. I'm thinking to myself, like, we complain about this stuff in like the lunchroom all the time. So I'm about to say something. So I raise my hand and I speak up. And I don't remember everything verbatim, but I remember one of the things that I was sharing was we need our own internal system. Like I know that we have these external systems of praise and recognition, but we need a system for our own people to celebrate each other. And in the process of me sharing that, I had a couple of other colleagues that joined in and they were like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was like, yeah. It's like a movie cinematic moment. But I said all that to say the environment was created in that moment. The leader created an environment of opening and saying, hey, I want to truly hear from you. I want to know what your perspective is. I want to know what the challenges are. So the environment was created. The other piece of that is that as an individual contributor, I said something. And so when we talk about everyone matters, but what does that mean at work? This is a prime example of the environment needs to be created by leadership 100% and nurtured. On the other side of that, we have the individual contributors that take ownership because of the knowledge and the efforts and the wisdom that they have as well. So when we look at it from this point of view, we start to see that it is not a either or, but it is a partnership that comes from a foundational environment and then stepping into that as well. So that's when I think about, everyone mattering, but what does that mean at work? That's what I mean when we talk about workplace value. So if you have questions, let me know. I would love to hear from you and or any comments. I would love to hear from you and maybe you have some experience on what workplace value may look like for you. So, as we are preparing to wind down on today, because we don't want to keep it for too long. Um, I want to know what are you doing that makes value harder to notice or easier to notice? What is your workplace doing, and what are you doing? Now, from a leadership perspective, it's what type of environment are you creating, nurturing? Are you thinking when you're looking at the final outcome, are you only looking at it as this is the end result based off of who delivers it to you? Or are you asking more probing questions? Whose other hands have touched this product? Whose insights have contributed to what I am seeing here? Because asking those questions and figuring out how to get that knowledge is going to be absolutely essential to not just saying that everyone matters, but creating an environment where everyone can contribute and they will truly see how their work matters. As an employee, going back to that question, or individual contributor, going back to that question that we asked at the beginning, which is given the current environment that you are in, what is possible? Perhaps for you, it could be to have a conversation. It could be to gather information from your colleagues and figure out if you're the only one because Truth among colleagues is very different than truth between colleagues and leadership. And if you know, you know. So just being able to decipher that difference there and making the most of your situation. Now, I want to say this, making the most of your situation does not mean that you simply continue to work in an environment that's not healthy. It doesn't mean that you don't aim for more. But what it does mean, it is an opportunity to use your position as an advantage because you have a perspective that leadership does not have. And being able to use that is what is going to be essential. All right, y'all. That is all that I have for this week. But I just wanna say this, that if you want a better understanding of what it means to create workplace value as a leader for your team, as an individual contributor, I would absolutely love the opportunity to delve in further via a workshop or a keynote at your company or organization in 2027. I hope that you'll reach out because I would absolutely love to have a conversation with you. You can either comment on this video or you can send me a direct message, and it's a conversation that we can have in regards to how can we increase the engagement and increase workplace value, because it's a topic that we don't talk about often enough. All right. I hope that you all have an amazing week. And please remember to stay adding value. All right.